Three, two, one. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the D&N Show, where I am your host, D-Nag, and today I am flying solo, but that doesn't stop us from recording. Mr. Natsu will be on the next episode, just scheduling issues. But so far, I wanted to talk first about our picks from last week, where we wasn't a good week. It really wasn't. I basically it brought my total up to of record to 56 and 41. So I lost 10 games. Or I lost 10 games last week and I only won 5. So not a very good week. But so far this week on the Saturday games, I've gone 2-2. Pretty much. Because the Steelers lost, which I picked the Steelers to win. The Lions won, so I won that one. The Vikings lost, and the Chargers won. So yeah, I've gone 2-2 so far. So we'll see how today's games go. Games haven't started quite yet, so I can't say how the games are going so far. But one thing I wanted to talk about, I wanted to go over what happened in the Steelers game because as us Steelers fans are probably very thoroughly pissed off. Because a lot of people are calling for Mike Tomlin's head on a stick and firing it. Just to put it into reference, just firing him. He needs to go. A lot of Steelers fans say he needs to go. And honestly, some of the calls that he made during the game were very, very questionable. I mean, but the first half, going into the at the start of the game, they scored 13 unanswered points. Okay. Really well done so far. It was a sloppy game to start with, especially choosing to elect to receive, but that's how they've been doing it, which 2 weeks prior, they elected to receive, they went out and they punched it in, and so they did good on that part. So that's probably what their mindset has been. So I understand it, but then once you elected to receive, then you went 3 and out. That's rather whatever. But the things happening, they ended up scoring 13 points. They missed a punt or a PAT, which indoors, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, Boswell doesn't miss very often, but when he does, it's like, oh my God, he missed it. So they did. But then to end the first half, the Colts ended up bringing the game back and taking the lead by 1 point, 14-13. And that was after one of those touchdowns was after one of the Colts receivers got injured, unfortunately, because DeMonte Casey absolutely lowered himself down and hit him and obliterated him as he was going to the ground, which you get the unsportsmanlike conduct, which ejecting him from the game was questionable, but I can see it. I can see why they did it, but then things happened, and then they ended up becoming very, very short in the safety regards because Minkah Fitzpatrick went down again with an injury, and then another guy went down with an injury, but I think he came back. So it wasn't a good day. So then after the 13 points that Pittsburgh scored in the first half, they scored first, they never saw the end zone again. Because to start, things were kind of back and forth in the third quarter, but then to start the fourth quarter was when things went downhill for the Steelers. Really bad. So not only I think in the third quarter, Trubisky got an interception, of course, because it's Mitchell Trubisky. He happens to love to throw it to the defense. But to start the fourth quarter, right, after they get down, and it's fourth down, if they would have kicked a field goal, it'd have been a 57-yard field goal. Which, in terms of Chris Boswell, he's got a chance to make that. Like, why not give him a chance to score the field goal? you're down by quite a few points by that point. I think by the time that happened, they were down by 11 points. So you score the field goal, you bring it down to a touchdown. Obviously, you do it. But no. Mike Tomlin decided to punt. And that punt didn't even actually work very well. It backfired. The choice to punt instead of kick the field goal backfired anyway. Because once the Colts got the ball, they went on a 15-play drive that 99.999% of those plays were all runs. So within 2 run plays, they were back to the line of scrimmage where it was at if he had missed that field goal anyway. So then they literally drove down the field and went run, 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 run. Oh, third down in the red zone. Finally, after 12 run plays, 13 run plays. Sorry. They passed the ball. And incomplete pass. So then they kicked the field goal. But they gave no fucks. The Colts literally said, if you cannot stop us with the run, I'm going to run it. And I'm going to beat you over the head with it. Anyway, yeah. They were like, if you can't stop us on the run, fuck yourself. We're going to beat you over the head with it. Now, you would think that with the safety, the Steelers being very thin and safe when it comes to safeties would have been something that they'd been like, okay, maybe we utilize that. Nope. They're like, nope, you guys can't stop us because the offensive line played really well for the Colts. And they were getting the line of scrimmage. They were beating the line of scrimmage every single play. I mean, the defensive line could not do anything. Aside from TJ Watt getting 2 sacks. So they were like, nope, we're going to continue to run and run and run and run and run and run. So then they just started pulling away. And then, when the Pittsburgh got the ball back, Mitchell Trubisky threw another interception. Which, then at that point, the Colts go down, they score. Pittsburgh gets the ball back. Now we see Mason Rudolph come into the game with 2 minutes left. And the defense knows you're passing it. And at that point, you see that everybody on the offensive side of the ball for Pittsburgh, they were all pissed. They were all demoralized. Like, at what point does it, and everybody, and they all said it at that point. It's like, how do you figure out what's going on with the team if on offense when you can't point out one specific item that it is. At one point, it's the runner. You can't get the run game going. At another point, you can't get the passing game going. At another point, it's the offensive line. At another point, it's something else. They can't figure it out. So, obviously, they can figure it out. They go find their offensive coordinator, which then they have their first 400-yard game since 2000. Since Matt Canada's been an offensive coordinator. They finally got a 400-yard game, which the offense they play for Kenny Pickett. I mean, they believe in him so much, and he lights a fire under them that helps them win games. Now, sometimes they've been having struggles, but now that they were like, all right, the offensive coordinator's gone. Hopefully he was the problem. 400-yard offense, they scored. A week later, Kenny Pickett goes down with an injury. At the end of the game, that is a really hard thing at the end of the season, that is a really hard thing to go through, to have your quarterback get hurt and be gone for 4 weeks. I mean, that is a really, really tough thing to go through. So then Trubisky comes in, they lose that game. They're like, shit. Next week after that, You think this is a must-win game. Like, we need to win this game. And then they lose. Again. So, when you come into a game like this, where it is an absolute. You have to win this game. Like, if you lose, you are pretty much done. And you see how bad your quarterback's playing when it comes to Mitchell Trubisky. And you have Mason Rudolph that, yes, he had his chance back in 2019 to prove it, but that year was really bad. And when you see how bad he plays, even when you start Trubisky 2 years ago and try to let Kenny Pickett learn instead of just throwing him out there and saying, good luck, he didn't play very well. He played not to lose his job instead of playing to win. And he still does. At this point, he wants to get his job back, but now that he's injured, he still does not want to lose his job, even to Rudolph. So then you go out there, then you play as bad as he does. Why do you not put Mason Rudolph in well before that? Like, when he's struggling, your offense needs something to spark. And then Najee Harris has, at some point in the game, after one play, he fumbled the ball, and the Colts got it back. And it's just demoralizing at that point. Like, your offense needs something, and you decide to finally put Mason in with 2 minutes left in the game when there's no chance you're winning. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this next game, if Pickett is still not available to come back, I wouldn't be surprised if he says, nope, Trubisky's our starting quarterback again for this week. I would be utterly pissed. Utterly fucking pissed. Because you cannot put him back into the game. And especially against the Bengals. Like, this next 3 weeks, the final weeks of the season, 16, 17, and 18, are the toughest part of our schedule. We face the Bengals, the Seahawks, and the Ravens. When Pickett comes back, hopefully he can play. But at that point, if you've lost, because I don't foresee them beating the Bengals. Maybe there's a chance with their quarterback being a different quarterback, but still, it's one of those games where the offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers are scrambling really hard to try and figure out what's going on, because I see potential for this to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season, because he's not doing well. And when you have games like that, where it's the Bengals, the Seahawks, and then the Ravens, when the Ravens are at the top of their game right now, they're like, I hate to say it, but they're whooping ass. The Bengals are their season's kind of weird because now that their season ending, they had the season ending injury for Joe Burrow. You're like, they're like waiting for their quarterback to come back, but he's also been kind of up and down with him this year, so it's been a weird season for them, but I don't see Pittsburgh winning to them. And Tomlin in the post-game interview said, our offense just didn't have very many possessions. Like, our defense didn't put us in positions. How can you say that your defense didn't do anything for you when your defense is the only reason why you are in most games? When your defense plays so long in a game, eventually they're going to get tired. And then he happened to say, well, he doesn't think that all the demoralizing is going to get to his defense eventually. I think his that post-game interview said. It's like, because we have a good group of guys on that side. It's like, yes, you have a good group of guys. But eventually, when it gets to the point where they give you back the ball and say, here, score, like their special teams, blocked a punt in the beginning of the game and got them down to the 1 yard line. So they just had to punch it in from there. You're set up so many times, but when your offense goes out there and 3 and out, punts the ball back, and then you have to go right back out there in 3 plays, it's like, how? How do you expect them to just win you games? Like your defense cannot go out there on offense and play for you. Your defense can be as good as it can be, good as it tries, regardless of how exhausted they are, and eventually they just got ran over. Like their defense was so tired they couldn't do anything about it anymore. Like, what do you do? So I'm hoping, I hate to say it, but I'm hoping something happens and they get rid of Tomlin. Because he is not making the greatest decisions at this point. He seems very checked out how often he's making just these obliterated calls. I mean, deciding to punt when you've got Chris Boswell at a 57-yard field goal indoors, like, he's got that. And obviously, in the time in the game, it's different. I can't say that for sure. So, subjective to, I don't know what the type of the field would look like. So, but still, I would give him a shot. But I do think that there should be a look at the quarterbacks that are coming out of this draft this next year, and you consider somebody who's going to challenge for the first spot. Somebody who actually genuinely is going to challenge for the spot. And look at Pickett and be like, hey, we believe in you, so you have to fight for your job now. Make them fight for it. Make them have that edge. Because as much as you bring in, like Ben said, as much as you bring in veteran guys, some of them don't know what it's like to be a Steeler. So even if you bring veteran presidents to the offense, it's like you really can only subject them to so much before everybody's just like, whatever. Like, the receivers are having problems. Even the running backs they're all voiced out. Like, the NFL now is a place where most players in the NFL only care for themselves. And I hate to say it, but that's what it is anymore. Even like the NBA is like that too, where it's like anymore you expect some very few people are team oriented, and it's like, I don't care if I'm not doing good as long as the team's doing good. I mean, it's a weird era, I suppose, of football, if you want to call that. But I mean, it's good, but I hate to see the Steelers going through as much of a shit as they are right now, especially because it's like, you do good. You go in the league. You go into these games that you should win, and you lose. Like, the last couple of years has been like that, too, where it's like, they play down to the team that they're facing, and they get their ass kicked. Where the last time I think they won a playoff game in the last couple of years, they've had 0 playoff wins at this point. Like, even when one of Ben's last few years, when they went 11-2, when they went like 11-0 or something like that, and then they lost like 5 of their last 6 games. No, they went 10-0 and lost 5 of their last 6 games, if I remember right. But still, because like they let the Browns go into their home stadium, beat the Steelers to earn a playoff spot, and then go back to Heinz Field that next day or that next weekend or something, that their next game, and get their ass kicked again. Like, The Steelers have been so much of a mediocre. There's a mediocrity to it at this point. Like, how many times are you going to deal with this before it's like, okay, you have to go through and change something like everybody goes in the coaching staff? Because they said they're trying not to change drastically through mid-season, but you have to at this point. I mean, it looks bad. And hopefully when Kenny Pickett comes back, they play well, they get it done. Hope so. But is that worth it at this point? Because it's like, if he doesn't if he comes back, you run the risk of him getting injured. So it's to say Mason doesn't start for the rest of the year. But obviously they're not going to do that. They're not going to tank for a draft pick because the Pittsburgh hasn't drafted in the top 10 in a very long. Well, in the top 5, I should say. They haven't drafted in the top 5 for a very long time. Because they're always in playoff contention. They keep close, but that's about it. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say on that because I'm just over a lot of Steelers fans. I can speak for a lot of Steelers fans when I say that we are getting very, very tired of the mediocre playing. Of like the mediocre mindset that has been going on. It's sad and it needs to stop. They need to figure something out because it's getting ridiculous. But that's what I wanted to say for sports so far. When it comes to one other thing I wanted to say, since the Lions won, beating the crap out of the Denver Broncos last night. If the Lions win next week, I saw somebody said this. I don't remember I don't remember who it was. And they said if the Lions end up winning next week, the Lions will win the NFC North for the first time since 1993. Like, that's pretty crazy. I mean, the Lions are doing a hell of a lot better than I thought they would this year. Because I thought maybe they would, they were a couple pieces away from figuring things out, maybe. Like 1 or 2 pieces from figuring out. And obviously they've had some of their struggles, but they are playing a lot better than I gave them credit for. Which is surprising. Now the Denver Broncos, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not at this year, which is kind of weird. Because I mean, Russell Wilson's okay. He's good. He's a good quarterback, but at some points there's something about that team that's just does not function very well sometimes. Whether it be their offensive line or something happens or what it may be. Because their offensive line, they've played every game so far. I did see that their offensive line, their starting 5 has played every single game together this year. Which is really good because you get the offensive line that stops having people, that having the same guys up front playing every game together. They get good with each other. They start flowing together well because they start figuring it out, and you don't have people constantly going in and out of the lineup and having to refigure it out, which is good. But it's just something about that team just does not sit well. For whatever it may be. But what can you do? It's the Broncos. But that's what I wanted to say about that. Hopefully we see some good games today. Gaming wise, I don't think there's any really gaming news lately. But that I really know of. I mean, I've been posting the Valhalla DLC on our channel, which I've been enjoying so far. But if you want to see something different, let me know what games you want to see, because it's been fun, but I think everybody's playing it so far, so that's... I want to try something new. I really do. I just don't know what I want to do yet. I'm just kind of waiting for new games to come out, which I thought about giving Pandora that Avatar game a try, but I haven't pulled the trigger on that. But I'm also just kind of waiting for when Justice League comes out. The Suicide Squad comes out, sorry. Because that is a game that I'm gonna give it a shot because it seems exciting. But I think that's gonna do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've said just about everything that I wanted to say. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, like, subscribe, and comment, and don't forget to turn on the bell notifications, because we keep posting videos every week, so, and it's not gonna stop. Again, would like to see the goal of, like, I think it's at 150 subscribers by the end of next year, which we hit the goal this year of 50 subscribers, so we got all year now. So let's keep it going. Subscribe, share. That's gonna do it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Without further on, I will see y'all in the next one. Deuces.